Daniel had always believed in boundaries. They were what made a good man great, especially in a blended family. When he married Melissa 5 years ago, he knew he wasn't just gaining a wife, he was becoming a stepfather to her 10-year-old daughter, Arya. And for years, that role had been simple: provide, protect, respect. Never cross a line, but things weren't simple anymore. Now, Arya was 19 and home for summer break after her first year at university. The little girl with braces and oversized hoodies had returned transformed, self-assured, magnetic, and disarmingly beautiful. It wasn't just the way she looked, it was the way she moved through the house, like she owned it. Like she knew something he didn't. Daniel noticed the changes early. The way she lingered in the kitchen in the mornings, her tank top clinging to sleep-warm skin. The way she leaned a little too close when she asked him to open a jar. The way her eyes held his, longer than necessary, softer than they should have been. He blamed himself at first. Maybe he was reading too much into it. Maybe it was just the awkwardness of watching a girl grow into a woman, especially one not of his blood, but under his roof. Melissa, as usual, noticed nothing. She was consumed with her own world, morning yoga, weekend book clubs, and endless me time that had grown into a routine of emotional absence. Their marriage wasn't broken, not exactly. Just thin. Stretched. Quiet. Like a house where no one slammed doors anymore because no one cared enough to argue. Then came Friday. Melissa packed a small overnight bag and kissed Daniel lightly on the cheek. "Girls' retreat," she said. "Just one night. Arya knows. She's staying in." And then she was gone. Daniel spent the day buried in emails, trying to ignore the stillness of the house. At dusk, he poured himself a glass of scotch and settled onto the couch. Halfway through the second sip, he heard bare feet pad softly down the hallway. Arya appeared, wearing nothing but one of his old button-down shirts, too big in the shoulders, scandalously short at the thighs. Her hair was damp from a shower, and she held a wine glass in one hand, swirling it casually. "I didn't think you'd still be up," she said, her voice low, almost teasing. Daniel didn't answer at first. He could feel the air shift around him thickening. "You're wearing my shirt," he said. She smiled and moved closer, curling up beside him on the couch. "It smells like you," she said simply, then patted the space next to her. "Come on. I hate drinking alone." Daniel hesitated, but only for a moment. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a warning flickered. But it was quiet. And the room was so very still. He spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, haunted by the warmth of Arya's body pressed beside him on the couch. Nothing had happened, technically. But that was the problem. Something had shifted. Something unseen but irreversible. The morning light did nothing to clear the fog in his chest. Arya, by contrast, floated through the kitchen like the previous night hadn't existed at all. She moved with a quiet confidence, humming as she poured coffee. Daniel watched her from the doorway, arms folded, jaw tight. "You're up early," he said. She glanced over her shoulder. "Couldn't sleep," she said, flashing that maddening smile. "Too much wine. Or maybe it was the company." He tried to keep his tone neutral. "You shouldn't drink like that." "You're still an adult," she interrupted, raising an eyebrow. "And legal, last time I checked." He opened his mouth to say something, anything, but her gaze held him in place. That look, playful, knowing, stripped away his excuses. She wasn't teasing anymore. She was testing him. Later that afternoon, he found himself in the study, pretending to read. The pages blurred. His thoughts kept circling the same dangerous orbit: Melissa's distance, Arya's presence, and the aching void in between. What would it cost to feel wanted again? As if summoned, Arya appeared at the doorway. "Can I ask you something?" she said. He nodded slowly. "Do you love my mom?" The question hit like a slap. He looked up. "Of course I do." Arya stepped inside, crossing the room with deliberate calm. "She doesn't act like she loves you," she said softly. "She barely touches you. Barely talks to you. You sit in the same house like strangers." "That's marriage," he muttered, instantly regretting it. She tilted her head. "That's not love." He didn't respond. Couldn't. Arya moved to the arm of the chair, perching herself like a cat, close but not touching. Her voice dropped. "You deserve more, Daniel. You deserve to feel seen." He swallowed hard. "Arya, this isn't appropriate." "Why?" she asked, leaning closer. "Because you're afraid? Or because you've already thought about it?" Her breath brushed his cheek. He stood up abruptly, creating space, grabbing at control. "I think you should go," he said, voice low. She didn't argue. She stood, unbothered, and walked to the door. Just before leaving, she looked back over her shoulder. "You're not a bad man," she said. "But you're a lonely one." That night, Daniel lay in bed, again alone. Sleep came in waves, light, fractured, guilt-ridden. Just before dawn, he stirred to the sensation of something warm at his side. Arya, curled against him, asleep. Her hand rested on his chest. Her breathing was soft, rhythmic, intimate. He should have pushed her away. But he didn't. She murmured something in her sleep, words barely formed. "Please, don't stop." "Daddy." "I'm enjoying this." Daniel stared at the ceiling, heart hammering as the world quietly came undone. The morning after blurred the line between memory and fantasy. Daniel sat at the kitchen counter, coffee untouched, mind spiraling. Had she meant those words in her sleep? Or had his guilt twisted them into something worse? Arya entered the room wearing nothing but a loose t-shirt and underwear. She didn't flinch when their eyes met. If anything, her gaze held him longer, steadier. "You left early," she said, sliding onto a stool across from him. He forced a sip from his mug. "I had work." "You don't work on Sundays." He said nothing. The silence settled like dust. Then in a whisper, "Did I say something weird last night?" Daniel looked up. Her expression was unreadable. "I don't know what you meant," he replied carefully. She leaned in slightly. "What if I meant it?" A knife twisted in his chest. "Arya, don't." Her smile faded, replaced by something deeper. "You think I'm a kid playing pretend. But I know what I want." He stood, pacing. "This is insane. You're Melissa's daughter. I'm not her. And she's barely your wife anymore." That cut deeper than he expected. Daniel stared at the floor, breath shallow. He didn't recognize himself in these moments. He had built a life around restraint, order, rules. Now each word between them chipped away at that structure like a chisel breaking stone. "I can't," he muttered. She stepped in front of him, so close he could feel her body heat. Her hand touched his chest, light, tentative, testing. "You already are," she said, and he didn't move. The kiss wasn't sudden. It was inevitable. Slow, like the end of a prayer. Her lips were soft, her body warm, her hands trembling, and still he didn't stop her. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe part of him didn't want to. When he finally pulled away, his voice cracked. "This isn't who I am." She touched his face gently. "Then why does it feel like you?" That night, he tried locking the bedroom door. It didn't matter. A quiet knock came around midnight. He didn't answer, but she came in anyway, barefoot, a blanket draped around her like a cloak. "I had a nightmare," she whispered. "Arya, please," she said. "Just stay with me." He hesitated, then lifted the blanket. She climbed in. They lay in the dark, bodies not touching, but gravity pulling them closer. Each heartbeat narrowed the space between them. His breath hitched as her fingers brushed his. The silence fractured. She turned toward him, hand tracing his jaw. Her lips touched his shoulder. Then his neck. He didn't stop her. Clothes disappeared like mist. Movement slow, uncertain, desperate. Every nerve screamed this was wrong. But her voice, so quiet, so hungry, cut through the doubt. "You don't have to be alone anymore." And in that moment, Daniel surrendered. Sunlight spilled through the blinds, painting long lines across tangled sheets and bare skin. Daniel lay still, eyes open, heartbeat crawling in his chest. Beside him, Arya slept soundly, her face serene, lips parted in contentment. She looked like innocence, until memory betrayed her. He slid out of bed slowly, careful not to wake her, and paced to the bathroom. The mirror didn't offer answers, just the reflection of a man who no longer recognized himself. His body was here. But his soul? He wasn't sure where it had gone. When he returned, she was sitting up, blanket wrapped around her, smiling softly. "Good morning," she said, like it was any other day. He rubbed his face. "We shouldn't have, but we did," she interrupted, unapologetic. "And you didn't regret it last night." "I wasn't thinking last night." She stood, the blanket falling away as she moved toward him. "Then start thinking now. Think about what she's done to you. Think about how long you've been waiting for someone to see you." He stiffened. "What are you talking about?" Arya crossed her arms, her voice steady. "Melissa's been cheating on you, Daniel. 4 months. Maybe longer." His breath caught. "You're lying." "I'm not," she said calmly. "I heard her on the phone. I saw the messages. I didn't say anything because I knew it wouldn't matter. You would have forgiven her. You always do." The floor seemed to tilt beneath him. Anger flared, but not toward Arya, not entirely. A deeper rage bubbled inside, coiling around the truth he'd refused to see. The coldness, the absence, the way Melissa had grown more distant with each passing month, it had all been pointing here. Arya reached out, placing a hand on his chest. I didn't destroy your marriage. I just showed you the cracks. He stared at her, torn between betrayal and desire, guilt and relief. You manipulated me, he whispered. No, she said. I gave you something real. The front door opened downstairs, Melissa's voice echoing faintly as she stepped inside. I'm home. Daniel froze. Arya didn't flinch. She doesn't know, Arya said. Not yet. They dressed in silence. When they joined Melissa in the kitchen, she greeted them with her usual detached warmth. Daniel sat across from Arya at the table, pretending to listen as Melissa recounted her weekend. Arya's foot slid slowly up his leg beneath the table, soft and deliberate. He didn't move it away. His heart thudded with confusion, with danger, with something dangerously close to exhilaration. Later, as Melissa walked out to unpack her bags, Arya leaned in. You don't have to choose yet, she whispered. But you will. Daniel watched her walk away, a storm gathering behind his eyes. She had whispered those words in the dark. Please don't stop, Daddy. I'm enjoying this, and now they lived inside him, echoing louder with every breath, and the worst part, he still was.